This is Haste Computer Repair back with another budget build for late 2023 going into 2024. And the build in question features this ASUS Phoenix GeForce GTX 1630 4GB of GDDR6 memory graphics card. And I'll get into why I chose this card in a moment. My plan is to have Windows 10 Pro booted onto this Patriot 480GB NVMe solid state drive strapped into this Lenovo branded PCIe NVMe adapter. And we're installing everything into this Lenovo ThinkStation P320 desktop PC. As you can see by the Xeon sticker, we have an Intel Xeon E3-1275 V6 4-core 8-thread CPU at 3.8 GHz. And already installed in the case is 32 GB of Samsung DDR4 2400 MHz RAM running in dual channel. Outside of the upgrades, we have what is a fairly typical Lenovo ThinkStation or ThinkCenter tower PC, with room for hard drive expansion, air intake fan expansion, and the typical CPU fan and heatsink that's been used since the Lenovo ThinkCenter M91P with 2nd gen Intel. The power supply is a somewhat weaker AcBel 210 watt power supply. I'll link to another video where I go into more detail, but unfortunately the power supply has a 10-pin power connector to the motherboard, which makes it a little bit more difficult to upgrade without using cable adapters. Alright, so back to why I decided to install the GTX 1630 graphics card into this PC. It's not for the performance factor, because despite it having 4GB of GDDR6 memory, as you can see here on the Techpowerup website, it's sitting relatively far down from a GTX 1050 Ti. And just for reference, I do have this other ASUS model of a GTX 1050 Ti, and I do expect there to be better performance despite, again, GDDR6 memory versus GDDR5 memory. Now, despite this, I do actually really like the design that ASUS chose for this graphics card. This Phoenix series in particular does have some pretty nice cooling power, and the fan is actually quite effective and quiet. This design reminds me a lot of a GTX 1070 that I installed in a different system, as well as a RTX 3060 that I used in my personal station about 2 years ago. I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying this graphics card to install in your system, just because of the price to performance is not quite there. The only reason why I purchased it is because I got it for a really good deal, and I thought it would make for some interesting content, and well, you never really know how something's going to perform until you test it for yourself. So I'll be selling this for pretty cheap, and it's going to go into this build as a budget gaming PC. I'm not going to be overinflating the price at all. If anything, I'm just looking to break even, and honestly, if you were to purchase this graphics card yourself, I would recommend the exact same thing. Alright, so let's get to the install. Now that everything's installed, let's check out the gaming performance of this CPU and GPU combo.